Welcome to another episode of You Know Ball, baby. Brought to you by the Run the Play Network. Okay, I see what the background. Network. A little background noise. Today we got a banger for you guys. We're gonna talk a little bit about the East, a little bit about the West. Shout out Carmelo Anthony for making the Hall of Fame. Deucer ain't here today, but that's Deucer's GOAT. Shout out Melo for making it in the Hall of Fame, obviously. But first and foremost, the most important thing on the show every week, Phil, who's the player you want to talk about this week?
Now, before I talk about this one player, I want to give a quick shout out to the boy Denny Advia. I know, talking about him earlier, but want to give him a shout out. Had a really cool 30-point triple-double, and it was up against some competition. So I want to shout that out real quick. But the real player I want to talk about, Nicolau Alexander-Walker.
Wow.
Now, the only reason why I want to shout him out is because, you know, I've liked him for a little bit. I thought he was a really good player. But then now Lakers talking about, we looking for somebody for the MLE, and they're really obsessed with this guy right here. So I'm watching them play, and I mean, a couple of games he was putting up average numbers, but then the last two games he's putting up really good numbers. And the game against the Denver Nuggets, he did a really good job in my opinion.
He hooped, bro. He
really did.
Really good game. He had
what was it, 24, 8 and 7 or something?
Yeah, 8 and 8.
8 and 8, my bad. But I think that he's a really good 6-man, in my opinion. I would start him at the 2 if I were like, for the example of the Lakers, I'd start him at the 2 and then have Austin Reeves at the 1 with Luka at the 3 or something like that. But he seems like he's a good 6-man for any team in the league and any starting point guard for any team in the league. And I like that he's playing with Minnesota, though.
I'm going to keep it a buck. Because you brought up the Lakers, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Y'all would hate that, man.
How come?
Because he is very KCP-ish, where he goes on streaks where he looks disgusting and doesn't miss, and then he goes on streaks where he can't hit a fucking shot. And I've seen that movie before with y'all. And y'all would hate that, man. Y'all would say that dude is a bum. Y'all would send death threats to that man if he missed.
I wouldn't do it. I'm just letting y'all know. I ain't on that. I was never on that Danny Green-ish. On that. I was mad at him for missing, but I wasn't no death threats type dude. Never will be. But I still like KCP. Okay. I still liked him because no matter what, if he was missing his shots, he was able to shut down like those point guards, shooting guards, even a couple times those 6'7", 6'6" small forwards that would threaten us from the 3-point line or even be a slasher. So I feel like I'm not saying Nicolau Alexander-Walker has that defense that KCP has.
He's a better playmaker than KCP, though, so he'll bring that.
But he's still a pretty good defender.
As a Laker fan, you could recognize that most Laker fans don't like KCP.
I feel like that's iffy because...
Dude, I feel like everyone I know, my pops hates KCP. He's like, that man can't shoot. I'm like, bro, he was like one of the most efficient shooters 2 seasons ago.
I'm about to say, I like KCP. I've always have.
I feel like a lot of Laker fans don't give that man enough credit because he was good. But he's just inconsistent shooting.
I don't like Kuzma. That's the guy I don't like.
That's fair. I think that's fine. My players I've been watching, I'm going to be honest, like most basketball fans, I've been watching more March Madness than NBA basketball lately. Now that March Madness is kind of wrapping up, back to the NBA. But for March Madness, I put my players. So my players I've been watching are Janai Broome and Walter Clayton. Ooh. Because what those dudes did in the Elite Eight was fucking special, boy. Did you watch that Auburn game?
Bro, you talking about the Auburn versus Michigan State game?
Yes.
I was over at BJ's watching that game.
Bro, that was when he went out, bro. I was like, wow. Michigan State is gonna win this game. This is over. And then Michigan State didn't do shit, and then Janai Broome came back in the game, and that was I think one of his best games of his career. He had 26 points.
Bro went nuts.
Yeah, but going nuts is what Walter Clayton fucking did in that Florida game, bro. That man, bro. Now I'm seeing Bleacher Report mock him at the end of the first round, which would be fucking. That'd be insane. Both these guys are going to be probably late first, early second round picks.
Interesting.
But these two guys, I think, are going to, because they're more older players, you know what their game is, they're going to come in and impact the team right away. It's no figuring out period. Last year's draft, a lot of the late first, early second round picks were development guys. These guys are guys that are going to come into the game and, you're going to feel them right away. So, pause. But, yeah.
Coming to think about it now, would you take Janai Broome in the draft?
It depends where. I think I'd spend a late first on him. I want to spend lottery pick, maybe a mid first, depending on my team. Mm-hmm. I do like I'm not one of those guys against drafting older players. Mm-hmm. I think that's a stigma in the NBA that's like bad for the game. Not bad for the game, but I think it's like you draft so many guys and you develop them and they don't become shit. Like I'd rather just draft like a Dalton Connect, for example. Yeah. The reason Connect fell in the draft was because
he was 23.
Literally, like, but we know what he is. He's a shooter. He's not going to get much better than what he is. I mean, he'll probably get more consistent, but as far as like better skill wise, that's kind of the player he is. But he's still going to be a quality NBA player. Like, I'd rather just take a guy that I know that I could trust for 10, 15 minutes in a game rather than a guy where I'm like, we're going to throw this guy on the bench for 4 seasons and he's going to develop. Like, we had Poku, bro. We had Ousmane Dieng. Like, those were guys that we both expect. I mean, that the Thunder expected to be, like, superstars down the line, and they just never developed into that. So, I'm more a fan of, like, drafting veteran guys, especially... Yeah. Like, with your early pick, take the best, like, freshman available, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you need to put those guys around consistent NBA players. And if you're a small market team, you don't have access to that in free agency. Yeah. So you might as well draft a junior or senior that can knock down a shot or rebound very well or be a safe point guard like a Ty Jerome, who that's what he was in college. Like, you got to – I think that's a better route to go than, like – and you don't have to pay them $40 million to get a KCP, for example. Like, you know, like you don't got to throw a bag at these dudes. You just sign them, you develop them, and then they're there. You know, they're usually there to stay. So that's how I feel on it.
But I feel like older players too also have that role or have that mindset that they're just trying to fit in. They're not trying to be the fit or like be the person you're trying to fit around. They're trying to be like make a way into the NBA.
Exactly, and that's a perfect way to put it because if I draft a dude later in the draft. And I want him to fit around my early guy. Like, that's what I'm going to want him to do. I don't want my fucking second-round pick to be like, I need the damn ball. Like, no, you need to get in that fucking corner. Like, that's where you need to be, brother. We got Cooper Flag. We got Cooper Flag.
That was a perfect way to put it.
Here, you know? I don't need you. You need to be here. Get your hands up.
You're like, you better sit in the corner like Cam Payne or sticking Cameron Johnson.
Exactly. I need that. So that's how I feel on it. Cam Johnson's a perfect example, right? Because he was a dude that kind of slid in the draft because he was, I think he played there for 3 years. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, like, he doesn't have that, like, superstar potential. And I still don't think he does. I feel like people kind of talk a little over highly about him. But as far as an NBA role player goes, he's probably a top 10 one in the league. Like, it doesn't get much better than Cam Johnson, who can just stand in the corner and play good defense. You know? So, yeah. That's my players.
I still can't believe the Suns gave up, or didn't give up, but, like, got rid of Cam Johnson like that in the Kevin Durant trade. I know it was KD, but, man, bro.
They fucked up. I don't get the decision with that. That just ended Mikal Bridges' career.
Yeah.
Before we get into the NBA news, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Man, okay, LeBron hit my parlay. Let's get it.
Oh shit, he hit it?
Yeah, bro. I won
$200. I told you parlay.
How the heck did you win $200?
I used Boom Fantasy. I used their pick and spin, spun the wheel, got 10 times my money.
Bro, you gotta hook me up.
If you use code RTP, you could get a risk-free bet up to $100. Let's get back to the video. Boom! Also, I want to give a huge shout out to our Discord. We've been running our March Madness tournament. Someone is going to win a free jersey. I was really rooted for Deucer. I'm going to be honest. I wanted Deucer to win it. I agreed with Deucer before the tournament that I was going to buy him a video game instead of a jersey, and he sold the video game. He fumbled the bag because he picked Michigan State to win the whole damn thing. And his bracket was good, dude. He had like a 90% bracket, but just Michigan State to go away. I'm like, bro, why do you got Michigan State going on?
Oh, man.
You don't know nothing about no Michigan State.
I felt bad in that game, bro. Michigan State, I remember I'm just watching them brick all those threes. I'm like, are they 4 for 23?
Bro, they were not like trying damn near. They should have been.
It looked like
they should have won, bro. But I do like Jace Richardson a lot. I think Jace Richardson's going to have if he develops right, he could be Derek White. That's what I see.
Where do you think he'll go in the draft? Because I'm thinking late first.
I think late lottery. Like 12, 13, 14. Honestly, I don't. This is draft talk completely, but I don't love the Illinois guard, Kasparis.
Oh, yeah. Jakushiano.
I don't like Igor Demin anymore. I would take Jace over both those guys, I think. But I do got to do a little bit more sit down, watch. It's kind of off of vibes.
No, I get you.
But yeah, I think Jace kind of impacts the game a little bit more than those guys.
I gotta watch a little bit more about Kasparis, man. I understand why people like him because he's a guard that can create on his own and shoot.
Not a
really...
lot though. I was fucking watching because I picked Illinois to go to the Final Four, and this is me watching a little bit of college basketball before this, but not a lot. But I was like, this guy seems like the truth. Like, he's a tall point guard, could create, can do all that. And he just didn't. Like, he couldn't do shit in the fucking tournament. So, I'm off of him. But that might be why. Good, I might got hate in my heart.
You're like, yo, you sold me, man.
Yeah, you sold me. I might have hate in my heart. Yeah, I mean, let's go into who would win in the series, Phil.
All right. I'm guessing you're talking about the Celtics versus Cavs.
Yeah, we're going Celtics versus Cavs. Who would win in a series? Off of straight vibes, right? Early in the season, would have definitely said Cleveland. Yeah. They were the number 1 seed in the East by a long shot. Now, they had that 4-game losing streak a week ago. Boston has won like 9 of their last 10 games, so they're hot. Who you got? I mean, what's vibes looking like?
So, I am going to say the Cavaliers.
Okay.
I am still sticking with them only because, yes, earlier I would have said Celtics because the Celtics beat them the first game they played, but then the Cavs beat them the last couple times and also came back when they were down. I think it was like 20-3, and they went on that run, came back and won. But then yesterday also, they came back to a team and they were down by like, I want to say like 16, 17 points. But they went off, and I feel like they're finally hitting their stride a little bit to know like the East is ours. Yeah. Like we can beat anybody, or we can contend with anybody too. But if they play the Celtics, I'm not saying it's going to be an easy like matchup. This is the one Eastern Conference matchup that I'm definitely going to be watching and paying attention to, like setting alarms for. But to me, I got to go with Cleveland in 7.
Okay, I think I'm going to go Boston in 6, dude. I'm feeling Boston now. You know, I was really high on Cleveland to start the year. I think that skid does scare me a little bit, which is kind of crazy for a team that's won, 61 games. So that skid just it got me off of them a little bit because they need to be perfect to beat Boston. I mean, Boston made the finals. The East runs through Boston still, no matter what. You know, so they do have to beat Boston, and it's just like – that is scary. And Boston and Cleveland have had good games all season. It's been a movie. Like, that is, as far as, like, what's happened in the regular season towards the playoffs, that'll probably be the best series. You know? You know what I mean? Like, those teams have each other's number very well. But with that being said, Cleveland's been dominating every other team, not Boston. And Boston, I think, has the coaching chops. Like, we never seen Bickerstaff, it's Kenny now. Kenny Atkinson. We've never seen Kenny Atkinson outcoach a team in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Missoula. I'm going to take the coaching matchup. I think talent-wise, I'd probably take Cleveland. I'm not going to lie. I don't love Boston's bench at all. But I'm going to go with the better coach in here, and I'm going to go with Missoula and the Celtics winning in 6.
Yeah, that's probably the only reason why I'm nervous about the Celtics, too, against the Cavaliers, because I really like the way Ty Jerome's been playing. I really like to pick up DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah.
I just really like their whole team. Even Dean Wade's back.
Yeah.
So I like the players that they have compared to – I mean, Peyton Pritchard's good, but that's the only person I'm really liking on the Celtics bench. Like, Luke Cornett, Torrey Craig, they are good role players. Like, they play their role, but compared to DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, and Dean Wade, I just think those guys are better.
Yeah, I think the bench whoops the other bench's ass. Like, Boston's bench is good. I mean, Cleveland's bench is way better.
Yeah.
I hate Boston's bench. I mean, Peyton Pritchard, I think is great, but he's a great fit. You know, I think on a lot of other teams it wouldn't be.
And Al Horford, I forgot to mention him.
Al Horford's good too, but I'm not about to I'm not like, oh no, we got LeBron, they got Al Horford.
But I mean, Al Horford, he steps up in big ways for the Celtics.
He does.
Like he plays his role perfectly.
You remember when he missed that layup? For like
Atlanta?
I think he was in Boston. He missed a game-winning layup. I think it was versus the Rockets. I don't know why. I have a very random memory right now.
Against the Rockets. Wait, this was in like
this is like 2 years ago.
And this was just like a random regular season game?
I think so.
Oh, it had to be a regular season game. What am I talking about? I don't remember that.
Let me see.
Was that when they had Marcus Morris Sr.?
Oh, shit. What the fuck? This is not 2 years ago, bro.
What happened?
This is 2016. Al Horford missed his wide open layup to potentially win the game.
Maybe I do remember that because
Bro.
was his face like when he missed it? He was all like, "No" or something like that.
Yeah. Where? Okay, so it is the Rockets. Can you guess what team Al Horford was on in 2016?
In 2016, wasn't that the Philadelphia 76ers or was that the Atlanta Hawks?
Wait, why does it say?
Wait, no. It went from Atlanta Hawks to Celtics to Philadelphia, and then he went to OKC, and then he came back to the Celtics. I think, right?
Bro, this says he's on the Celtics. So he did go back to this. Okay. I don't remember him leaving the Celtics and coming back.
Yeah, because he went to. I was happy because at first I remember the chemistry. It was in the bubble, or it was during the bubble. He was playing for the Celtics, and then I was like, "Oh shoot!" Like I kind of want him to go because when they lost to Miami, I was happy, and then he went to the Sixers, and that's when they had.
That's when they got
Oh
him.
no! I'm tripping. He was playing for the Celtics. Went to the Sixers to play with the Jimmy Butler and the Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons 76ers with Tobias Harris and all that big team that we thought was going to win. Then he went from that team because they were just terrible to OKC, and then he went from OKC back to the Celtics.
Hit that on the head. Right on the head.
I remember that.
He played with Isaiah Thomas in Boston. I don't know why. I just didn't. That's a forgettable time. I just remember him going to Philly because everyone was like, Al Horford defended Embiid like so well, and they were like, Al Horford's the only guy that could guard Embiid. So the fucking Sixers signed his ass, which made sense. Oh,
It does, but like, y'all, I'm still so mad at that team for not keeping Jimmy. I'm still so mad. Like y'all had it. Y'all had the blueprint right there.
well, let's talk about Jimmy. Let's talk about the Western Conference.
Yes, sir.
You want to just go how we think the seeding is going to look, and then we could use that as an excuse to talk about that Warriors game we wanted to talk about, that Nuggets game we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, let's
go into it.
All right, let me break this down really quick, right? Because this really don't matter. But what I want the West to look like is this. I want the Lakers versus the Warriors in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Nuggets versus the Grizzlies in the first round. And I want the Rockets versus the Clippers in the first round. And I want OKC to play the Timberwolves. Originally, I wanted us to play the Suns because I think we just bust their ass.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want the Timberwolves in the playoffs. Now, what I see, right? We could go one by one from 1 through 8 if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think, obviously, OKC finishes number 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
1,000%.
What do you think the 2 seed's going to end up being?
I think the 2 seed's gonna be the Rockets.
Finally.
I think they are because they have
Finally
a big
on
lead.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not saying like they're better than the Lakers or something like that, but
I never said that either in the playoffs.
Oh, you're just saying like you believe that they will be no matter what the second seed.
I think with Fred VanVleet, they've consistently been. This is what I've been saying. With Freddie, they've consistently been the 2 seed. I think it should stay that way.
Okay.
You know, like that's it. I mean, last 10 games, they're the second best team in the West when healthy. That's been all season.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't had a lot of great wins lately. But 2 of their last 3 games, they put up over 140 points. That's crazy.
That's good offense.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. That's good offense. I just I mean they have a 4-game lead over a lot of the West teams, or actually 3 average. So the second seed is pretty much locked in for them unless they go on a 3-game losing streak.
And I believe they have a pretty easy rest of the season.
I think the only hard thing for them is the last 2 games.
Oh, never mind. Their season is actually tough.
Yeah.
They play Thunder, Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets.
Never mind.
They got like 5 teams.
Whoa.
Probably the 5 of them.
So maybe the way they can secure it is if they win 3 games. 3 more games.
This is a good gauge to see how I feel about them in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like if they win out, then I'm like, fuck, this team could win a championship. If they go 3 for 2, then I'm like, all right, maybe this team can make the conference finals. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because they haven't really beaten anybody lately.
That's true.
So I want to see that. What's your 3 seed looking like?
This one's tough because I think that now it's between the Lakers and Denver Nuggets, but I'm going to say the Lakers only because we have the tiebreaker, and even the way Denver those 2 big games this week, losing to the Timberwolves and losing to the Spurs, that's 2 losses that really screws them up.
Yeah.
And if they tie us, we have the tiebreaker over them because we have the division, and that gives us 3rd seed. So I think on a technicality, we'll have the 3rd seed.
I think you guys will have the 3rd seed if the Thunder aren't going for 70 games.
That is true. If you guys don't play,
you guys play us twice.
Yeah.
If we bench our starters, I think you guys are damn near a lock for the 3rd seed.
Yeah.
Because you guys just got to beat the Rockets, the Warriors as like difficult teams, and then you have the Pelicans, Mavericks, and Blazers.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that Mavericks game goes in Dallas.
Bro, that's gonna be a lot of emotions.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But I think I have the Nuggets as my 3 seed. It's close, but I think the Lakers are playing thirstier teams. Like I think the Warriors, the Nuggets play. And then after that, it's the Pacers, Kings, Grizzlies, and Rockets. Like, that's not...
For the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, that's not difficult. So
Pacers, Kings, Grizzlies, and Rockets. I think the Kings game is easy. The Pacers game, I don't know. Because
Pacers are good, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think the Nuggets are a tier up on them for sure. I think the Grizzlies, their season's falling apart. And then Houston, the end of the season, they'll probably have the 2 seed locked up and bench people.
Yeah.
But again, I think if you guys beat the Thunder or the Thunder are benching their starters, then I think you guys are pretty much a lock for the 3 seed.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like we're going for 70, which kind of scares me because I've seen this movie before where a team does too much at the end of the season and it costs them.
Oh, man.
But that's how I feel. My 5 seed, this is where I have the Warriors.
Yeah.
Like you said, 18-2 when Jimmy and Steph play. They've beaten a lot of good teams, but to end the season, they have to play both LA teams, the Nuggets and the Rockets.
Yeah.
So they also have a tough schedule.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm shaky on this. And I'm not trying to put any slack on the Warriors because they've been playing really good as of late, too. But, like, the only reason why I'm iffy on the 5 through 8 is because right now there's the 5 through 8 have 44 wins. And the only team that is up right now on that, or in an advantage of that, is the Warriors because they only have 31 losses to the other team's 32. So I'm thinking today's game is going to tell us what's going on and like show us if they can solidify that or not. Because if they win today, they have a good lead against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Clippers, and the Memphis Grizzlies to keep that 5th seed. But if they lose today,
then it's
open. They're back in. Yeah, it's open and it's in a flux.
Yeah,
that's why it's so hard to judge this point of it because that's the wild west, man.
And it's crazy. Adam Silver cooked because all these teams are playing each other to end the year.
That too.
Not a lot of teams are getting Portland, Utah, and Pelicans to end their season. You know, so yeah, it is scary. But so you have a different team at 5, or you have the Warriors at 5?
I'm going to say that I think I need to see what happens today.
Okay.
That's what is going to solidify it for me because then I could choose like, okay, Minnesota probably has the 5 and Golden State maybe has the 6 or because I think Minnesota finally hit like the thing they needed. Like I think that Denver game is going to give them enough of a boost like team morale-wise to win most of their games to solidify being out of the play-in.
I'm not even going to say that Denver game. I feel like they're finally clicking as far as health goes.
Yeah.
Like Randall's back. Nikhil's back. DiVincenzo and Nas were suspended, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like DiVincenzo's finally figuring it out. Nas Reed's had a great season, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Edwards, obviously, is one of, like, top 10 probably player in the league right now. Rudy Gobert, I mean, sure, he's not the same as a Rudy guy. I'm not as high on Rudy as I have been in previous seasons. But he's still a good defender, and he's a good leader in that on that side of the ball. So I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be a scary team to play in the playoffs, and I have them as my 7th seed actually.
Oh, okay.
I have them as my 7th seed. I have the Clippers as my 6th seed because the Clippers have been hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They beat Cleveland. They had competitive games with Cleveland again and OKC.
Yeah.
Kawhi's had 20-plus points in his last 13 games, and in 41 possible games since he's like officially came back from injury, he's played in 31. So he's not like a shell of himself or anything like that this season. People on TV talk differently, but Kawhi Leonard has had a very, I'm not going to act like a great season, an elite season, but a very progressive season to where he needs to be for the Clippers to be successful. And it's good that he finally took the time to like sit and not like force himself to play.
Oh, yeah.
And like get out for the whole season. So it looks like we're going to have a healthy Kawhi in the playoffs. I don't want to jinx anything. I'm not going to pick the Clippers in the playoffs because I fucking do that every year and I get fucked on it every year. But who knows? If they could drop us off or drop off a good team on this run, then maybe I'll change my mind.
They're not going to drop you guys off.
I'm not saying in the playoffs. I'm saying maybe I don't even know if they play us in the regular season. But yeah. And then my 8 seed, I went with the Mavericks.
You went with the Mavericks?
I went with the Mavericks.
Whoa.
Okay, I think like at this point, they're not locked into the play-in, but they're damn near secure for the play-in. That's all they needed, really. Mm-hmm. You know, Anthony Davis is back. Anthony Davis had his big game. Maybe I'm a little high on an Anthony Davis game winner, but Anthony Davis finally did his thing yesterday. So I'm gonna go with Dallas. I think this is where I want to kind of pivot towards the Grizzlies, who I was high on because I like Coach Taylor Jenkins. I know you feel differently about him.
I feel very differently.
So let's talk about it. The Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins, which I think was a mistake, but you think differently. So
I think that it wasn't the right time to do it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have done it right now, without a doubt. Like there's 6 games left, and you did it with 10 games left.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that, but I don't think he is that good of a coach. I think he's a bad coach only because.
Let's fix this really quick. Do you think he's a bad coach, or do you think he's not like an elite coach? Like, where does he rank? Because there's not a lot of great coaches in the NBA.
All right, then let me rephrase it. I don't think he's an elite coach.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
I don't think he's an elite coach. I think he does get a little bit overhyped, but it's only because I think that he hasn't managed the team's, like, how do I say this? Not morale, the attitude well. Because I was looking back on ever since he's became the coach for Memphis, since at 2019. Yeah, there was some bumps because all you had was Jonas Valanciunas as your best player, and then you got John Morant. Then you started building. You got Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, when Brandon Clark was really good, and Jaren Jackson Jr. And you had this run of young players, but looking at the seasons before that they had, it doesn't seem like they've really had any other, like, they haven't risen more than what they've done before.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment.
But, like, I just don't like the fact that the first season John Morant went to the playoffs. That was awesome because a lot of people probably didn't expect it. John Morant, Jonas Valanciunas played against Utah Jazz. Sucks for them. They were the 8th seed, though. And they won 1 game off them, but then they lost in 5. But still, it was their first time going there. But then the next year, I was respecting them, but then it was the attitude they had, thinking that they were already, like, better than the All-Stars, better than this, better than that, which is what you kind of have to have. But you also got to remember these guys have experience. So you beat an unexperienced team in Minnesota Timberwolves, and then you're thinking, oh, you're hot stuff. And then you play the Warriors. And then I didn't like the fact that they were trying to intimidate them, and they started playing that song, Whoop That Trick, after they won 1 game. And I'm like, this is the playoffs. You can't treat it like the regular season. That's what it made it seem like to me.
But how is that coaching?
Huh?
What did anything you just say have to do with coaching?
I feel like you still have to manage that and let them know, like, we still got to win more games. It seemed like he was writing that.
Every time a team wins a playoff game, they go in the locker room and turn up.
Yeah, go in the locker room and turn up. They were doing it on the court. They were doing it, like, after the buzzer went off, like, in front of that team, and there was no respect to it. And I understand, like, yes, that's more players, but you got to
respect your opponent in the playoffs.
I feel like you got to be more prepared with that, though.
You got to be more prepared,
especially up against the Golden State Warriors.
But you lost to a team that won the championship that year. You know, it's not like you lost to a fucking veteran team that sucked. Like, they won the fucking championship that year.
But then same thing next year. You go up against the Lakers 2022-23 team, and you do the same exact thing, and then LeBron and AD drop you off. Austin Reeves, too.
Yeah,
like, Austin Reeves had a good game. But
you could have a bad series and not be a bad coach. Like, I don't think the Warriors series was a bad series, and I think that Lakers series was more on Dylan Brooks than Taylor Jenkins, like pissing off LeBron.
But that's what I mean. Even Desmond Bane was saying some stuff, same with John Morant.
But what does that have to do with Taylor Jenkins?
I don't feel like there was any control of that. There was any control
of
Trump.
Men.
Yeah, they're grown men.
It's not high school no more. You can't say, "Hey, get out the game." This guy's getting $40 million. You can't just pull him out the game for talking. Like, they're grown ass men. You know, I don't think he has control of what his players say.
But that still affected their gameplay.
But that's not coaching. That's the players.
I feel like you still got to.
That's like if a player takes a dumbass shot, you're not gonna say, "Well, the coach had no control over him." No, that player's a jackass for taking a dumbass shot.
Okay, but then don't you want to tell him like, yo, ease up on that? Or even like if you lost to the Warriors the same exact way, don't you want to like change that attitude since you're going up against another veteran team or a team that has veteran?
That's your team's attitude. Like, that's what they're. I don't think the Grizzlies are as good if they're not that team that kind of plays with that swag and punches dudes in the mouth. It's like Isaiah Stewart. Like everyone's saying Bickerstaff should be in the top 3 for Coach of the Year, but they have Isaiah Stewart on their team. Is it like he needs to control Isaiah Stewart to win Coach of the Year? Fuck no. He's a good-ass coach.
Well, I mean, that's only, like, I understand the Isaiah Stewart thing because low-key Brody is a crash out. He's probably he's probably worse than Draymond Green. I'm going to be for real.
He is, for sure.
But, like, that's one player that, because we could almost say the same thing with Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson, and the whole thing with Ron Artest, and I forgot who the coach was with the Houston Rockets when Ron Artest was there.
With the Rockets?
Was it Mike D'Antoni?
It might have been D'Antoni. That's who I was thinking of.
But like, I feel like that's more manageable because that's one player. With this, Desmond Bane, John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and trying to remember that other player who was talking about. Either way, I feel like it's multiple players.
But you could be that type of team and win a championship. Mm-hmm. I mean, the 04 Pistons is like one of the most legendary sports teams ever because they were a scrappy, punch you in your mouth type of team. Mm-hmm. Like if they're trying to replicate that, sure, it didn't work, obviously, and they didn't win a championship. But I think if they win a championship, you're not praising Taylor Jenkins. You're probably praising the players. And you're like, not saying you, but I'm saying more general people are like, oh, this is the team's culture. This is what they are. Whatever, but because they haven't won a championship, that's championship culture for you, you know. Like, and that's why all I'm saying is this dude almost won a Coach of the Year. He's the most winning coach in Memphis Grizzlies history. The 2 years that they weren't above 500, Valanciunas was their best fucking player. Yeah, and John Morant wanted to do to shoot a fucking 10-year-old or whatever the fuck it was. Well, that wasn't real.
He had a gun.
He had a gun.
And then he fought a team.
But John Morant was suspended is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he's been successful ever since stepping into the NBA only as a 6-year coach. We've seen coaches lose the locker room and come back. Yeah. I mean, you look at Mike Malone. He lost Sacramento, and DeMarcus Cousins was pissed they let go of him, and then he still went on to become a great coach. Yeah. You know, like there's examples in NBA history of guys who maybe fucked up, and they're still like Ime Udoka. Like he's fucked up, but no one's saying he's a bad coach, and now he's on the Rockets, and they're the 2 seed. You know?
Then you know what? Maybe let me change it to this because I like the point you made with the Detroit Pistons. I feel like the Detroit Pistons or Detroit basketball, that is their identity as a team. They are the definition of crash outs because that is how they've won, and they have that championship history to ride on that. But then with Taylor Jenkins, maybe you have a point with the whole like, yes, these are grown men and they have to control themselves and their attitudes, but also like that isn't their identity. I don't see them as like the physical crash outs that they should. If you want to try to form that, by all means. But, I mean, you see what happened with the Warriors. You saw what happened with the Lakers. Maybe that's not you guys.
My whole thing is I feel like coaches have been getting blame all season for shit that's not their fault. Like what happened with Sacramento and who was their coach? Oh, my God.
Mike Brown?
Mike Brown.
Yeah.
Like, when they're winning, it's like De'Aaron Fox is going crazy. Sabonis is going crazy. Yeah. When they're losing, it's Mike Brown. When the Grizzlies are winning, it's like, oh, Jaren Jackson should be All-NBA. When they're losing, it's Taylor Jenkins. Like, I just don't – I feel like the coach shouldn't be the fall guy. And in this case especially, I can't believe we haven't even brought this up.
Yeah.
You know the Grizzlies didn't even fire Taylor Jenkins because he's a bad coach? There was the other dude on their team.
I was going to say, who was that reported by when you brought that up? I was going to ask.
I've seen it in multiple sources. I saw it on ESPN, though. But his name's Tomas Izalo, right?
Yeah.
He's the assistant coach. Pretty much they had 2 assistant coaches. One of them, and I'm blanking on this dude's name, he's the player development guy, which the Grizzlies are elite at, developing players and making them into stuff that maybe they weren't projected to be. And then Tomas Izalo, who's more of a EuroLeague style coach, trying to bring that brand of basketball to the NBA. And Taylor Jenkins was kind of the middleman and making all of that work together.
Yeah.
Tomas Izalo was starting to get head coaching buzz. So the Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins so they could promote Izalo, and they're probably going to extend him in the offseason unless this team just tanks. I just think, and I know you said this, but I just think you take Taylor Jenkins to the playoffs.
Yeah.
If he blows another series, hypothetically, then you fire him.
Yeah.
Right? But if you take Taylor Jenkins to the playoffs and that team makes it out the first round, makes it to the conference finals, let's say hypothetically, like I feel like you're losing out on a lot of opportunity if you fire him at that point in the season. You know? So
if he were to make it to the conference finals, I wouldn't even question then the whole firing thing. It would probably change my opinion on him because maybe it's like a growth moment.
Yeah.
Well, in my eyes. And it's like, wow, like you guys in this type of Western Conference made it to the conference finals. I got to keep you on. But if they lose again in the first round, like you said.
Then I'd be okay with firing him because
Yeah.
you reached your ceiling.
But no matter what, we both agree. They shouldn't have fired him 10 games before the playoffs.
Bro. That shit just did not make sense to me. But I'm going to call this now. This is my prediction.
Yeah.
Taylor Jenkins is going to go to a young team in the offseason, and he's going to change that fucking team. Like, he did it in Memphis, bro, because Memphis was kind of in that middling territory where it was like the end of Mike Conley, the start of John Morant. I don't think Memphis is the Memphis we know now without Taylor Jenkins.
You know what? Maybe have him go to the Bucks.
The Bucks would be sick.
If the whole thing with Doc Rivers doesn't work out.
I want to see him do it again though. I want him to go to a young team and develop it. I don't think the Nets are gonna fire their coach. I don't think the Jazz are gonna fire their coach.
Yeah.
The Wizards, dude.
I heard something about the 76ers maybe firing Frank Nurse, which I think would be weird because he's a good coach in my opinion.
I think he's a good coach too. I want him to go. I don't know where's a young team he could go, but if there's a young team willing to give him the opportunity, which would make sense because he just took a young team to a second team like second seed back-to-back years, 250 wins, most in a franchise for the Grizzlies. And then how many coaches coach for 6 years, like in the same place? There's not many in the NBA right now. Like I think of Pop, Spo.
Yeah. Pop, Spo.
In the same spot for 6 years.
Let me look at the teams real quick because I think there are a couple that have. Oh wow, that actually is crazy. I'm looking through. Maybe what is Billy Donovan at?
Billy Donovan, I think
he's at 4.
No, I think Billy Donovan's been there a minute. Ty Lue, I think, has been there a minute.
Ty Lue for sure. Ty Lue's been there for a long time. You just hired the new guy for OKC, so that's what 3 years.
Yeah,
2 years.
Finch with Mike Malone, Kerr, Finch. But these are all elite guys.
Yeah.
Except maybe Billy Donovan.
Then you have a point.
You know, so that's just how I feel on it. But, I mean, you guys could let us know at home what you think about Taylor Jenkins. Let's talk about this Nuggets-Wolves game, and then we'll wrap up the episode. Because this game was a banger.
I really want to hear your opinion on this because I've been not arguing but debating with people on this whole thing. But give a rundown of what happened pretty much. Like, talk about this game.
So, in this game, Ant had 34 points. I want to give Ant his flowers because Jokic was getting a lot of flowers, which I'm not a Jokic hater, by the way I said that. but I think Ant deserves flowers too. Jokic had a 60-point triple-double, shooting 62% from the field. Aaron Gordon had 30 points as well. Julius Randle had 26. Nikhil had 24. It was just a great game. The game went into double overtime. I think the final score was 149-148. Yeah, I mean, it was just a good-ass game. I have, like, a play-by-play rundown, and we could kind of talk about things as it happens. So, at the end of regulation, Anthony Edwards catches the ball, like, at the top wing-ish area.
Yeah.
Gets doubled, kicks it to Randall. Randall has the ball. There's a moment where, and I believe it's this one, not in the first overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a moment in this one where Christian Brown is kind of in no man's land. He's guarding Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the corner.
Yeah.
Mike Conley's in the paint. Jokic is a little bit too far in the corner to get to him. And Randall does a step-back three. I didn't like that shot personally because, I mean, you have a two-on-one. I know there was 3 seconds left. I think Nickeil in the corner is probably a more efficient shot than a Randall step-back three.
Yeah.
Even though Randall was having a good game. And then overtime 1 starts. Russ had 2 turnovers in this overtime. Jokic at the top of the key was damn near unstoppable in this. The last play of overtime, or the last bucket of overtime, there's a weird screen where Brown sets the screen for Jokic. Jokic comes up. It looked like Ant didn't want, I think it was Randall down there to switch. He wanted to take Jokic. Jokic just backs him down. Easy layup.
Yeah.
Gets him his 60. And then in OT, Jaden McDaniels takes the last shot. Anthony Edwards was not double-teamed on this one. I would have liked to see Ant take that shot. I think the game ends earlier if Ant takes that shot because he hasn't missed. And then we get to double overtime where Russell Westbrook crashes out, pretty much. Russell Westbrook gets the steal, so shout out Russ for that.
Yeah.
And then blows the fucking layup. And, man, that pissed me the fuck off. I'm not gonna lie.
Tell me what you were going through.
So Russ gets the steal, right? Mm-hmm. They're up 1, so this ends the game. Mm-hmm. Pass it to Brown. Brown passes it back to Russ. Russ goes up for the layup. They're up 1 with like 13 seconds. If Russ dribbles that fucking ball out, the Nuggets win that game. But instead, he goes up for the layup and he smokes the layup. Timberwolves get the ball, go down the court, pass to Alexander Walker in the corner, shoot, misses, foul. Alexander Walker goes to the line, 1-point game, 3 free throws. You know how the story goes. Game ends right there. Mm-hmm. And in double overtime, there was a play where there was a switch and Russ got on Anthony Edwards. I don't know who had the ball, but someone had the ball at the wing, and then Russ kind of just falls asleep, and Anthony Edwards literally just books it behind him. Russ got backdoored in double overtime, which I thought was like, come on, bro. You just blew the game. I also thought the jump ball call was a terrible call.
That was a weird call. You talking about the one
it goes out of bounds. Double OT? Yeah, bro. The ref just didn't know what the fuck to do, so he was just like.
I was watching it on the NBA app, and I was watching on the backboard camera. Uh-huh. So the fact that they couldn't review it, and clearly it went off as thinking Jokic's hand. I saw it. But then when they called it a jump ball, that's why I texted the group chat going like they're rigging it. But high key too, I didn't know that Jokic had 5 fouls, and I was wondering why Anthony Edwards kept on going at him and making it. Like it was low key making me hold my breath because I thought he was gonna miss it. But every time he was making it, I was
he was going at his chest.
Yeah, but like I didn't know he had 5 fouls. That's why I was wondering why Ant was crashing out. Uh-huh. And then even on the very last one, that it got them up to 138, and then the Nuggets were down 135, I believe. And then he made it, and he was like getting all angry because he got a lot of contact on Jokic. And I was thinking Jokic only had like 3 fouls, but when they announced he had 5, I was like, so that's why they're tripping. And then when
trying to get him out of there.
And then when I saw when they called the jump ball, even though I saw it on the backboard cam, it went off of Jokic's hand. I was like, when did they ever call jump ball when it goes out of bounds?
Yeah, I thought clearly. It was a close call, but I was like, why don't you just? If he called it one way, they could have reviewed it.
Yeah.
But he just, I think, didn't know, and they were just like, jump ball. But I didn't think the game was reffed in a way towards the Nuggets. I know you said that. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that watching the game live. Mm-hmm. Like, everything felt close enough where it didn't seem like Jokic was fouling. Mm-hmm. Sure, there was contact, but it's, like, not enough for a foul. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's the way I hoop, where it's like, I'll be at the park and a dude will hit my arm and they'll be like, did I foul you? I'm like, not enough. Like, if you, like, whack me, sure.
Yeah.
But if it's, like, a scraper or whatever, like, it's not that deep.
No, I understand that.
I just didn't feel like it was enough. But
I just felt like it was more like they were trying to protect him a little bit. It seemed like it to me.
It didn't seem like it to me. But if that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
Yeah, but
on the injury report also for this game, my bad. DiVincenzo and Naz Reid were both suspended, and then Strawther, Murray, and MPJ were all out.
Now, do you feel like those guys would have changed the game for the Minnesota? Like, would it have been would it have still gone to a double OT if those guys were involved?
I'll tell you what, I want to see this series now when they're both healthy. I definitely want to see that, like a 7-game series. But I don't think it changes it for Minnesota. And I'll tell you why, because Nickeil Alexander-Walker played out of his mind.
Yeah.
And he's probably losing a lot of those minutes from those guys playing. I do think Michael Porter Jr. maybe hurts Aaron Gordon the same way. Because I looked this up because I always feel like when Michael Porter Jr. doesn't play, Aaron Gordon goes crazy.
Yeah.
It's not true, but that's just how I felt. Aaron Gordon without Michael Porter Jr., 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. 36% from 3. With Michael Porter, 13.7 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 33% from 3. So it's just kind of that 3-pointer jump that really kicks in.
Wait, did you say 13.7 points, or am I tripping?
Yeah, 13.7.
Oh, 13.7 points. My
so
bad.
14 points per game versus 16 points per game. It's not really much of a difference. But yeah, what did you think about the game?
So,
were you mad at Russ?
Well, I mean, I was rooting for Minnesota for standings-wise. I like both teams. Like, I'm just going to be for real. But for the standings, I was rooting for Minnesota. So I was that play because I know they were trying to do something different because they had Ant catch it at the top of the three-point line like they always did. And they were trying to have him catch it at the side to maybe get some more room. There was miscommunication. Julius Randle confuses Ant on if he's committing to the cut or if he's gonna receive the ball. Turnover. Russ gets the steal, runs down. Immediately, I'm thinking in my head, yes, it's a 2-on-1, but I mean, you're up by 1 with 13 seconds left. Maybe, and this is what I've been debating with people, arguing with people about, maybe don't take the layup, but give it to Christian Braun if you're nervous about having a 64% free throw shooter shoot the end game free throws. But I wouldn't be mad too, because I'm like, either way, he goes to the free throw line, makes one, misses one, that puts you up 2.
Yeah,
and they don't have timeouts.
I think Christian Braun shouldn't have passed that either. I think that was also like he should have just held the ball too.
Yeah.
But Russ is the one who missed the layup. That's unacceptable.
That is true.
I always think of, I don't remember what Adam Sandler movie it is, but he's listening to the game on the radio. It might be
Grown Ups?
No, he has anger issues in this one.
Oh, anger management?
Is that what it is?
Anger management. That's anger management.
And he's like listening to the radio, and Allen Iverson like goes for the layup, and he misses it. And he's like, "Why don't you just fucking cup the ball? Like turn it, because Russ could have dunked that.
That is true.
If Russ dunked that, then that changes the game.
That would have been nuts.
Yeah, that would have been lit, and we look at that differently. But he didn't cup it. He went for a layup, and he smoked it. So he should have flipped the hand. That's what I think. He should have banged out.
I'm trying to figure out why people wanted him, because I still think holding the ball and, either way.
Held is the move.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm trying to understand why people were like, yeah, go for the layup. I'm like, either way, you erase time off the clock, and Minnesota doesn't have any timeouts, and you just have them take it on the full court with, 3 seconds left or 5 seconds left after that?
Yeah.
Or just give it to Christian Braun, and he makes both of them, you're up by 3.
And you go to triple overtime, which I'd rather do than lose a fucking game.
Well, they wouldn't go to triple overtime. They would have won it if Christian Braun makes both of them.
Well, then they need to hit a 3.
Oh,
and Russ can't foul Nikhil. But you guys let us know at home, did Russ piss you off? Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Join the Discord as well.
Yes, sir.
That's new. Join the fucking Discord right now. It's in the fucking description.
You
made it here. I don't know how long this video is, but I'm going to guess 15 minutes. You sat through 50 minutes. Join the fucking Discord and let me know what you thought about this video. Phil, let them know what else.
Yes, sir. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow Run the Play Network on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure to hit that bell as well. I'm your man, Phil. This Ant-Man straight from the MCU. We out, and let's bounce.
Bounce, baby. Boom.